Hey guys, sorry. Hi Zachar, how are you doing, man? Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks. This is an off-the-cuff ad hoc live stream. I wasn't really planning to do one. AT said, hey, let's do this. Let me just double check that we are live, that things are good to go here. Um, let's see, are we streaming?
There we go. Yep.
Yes,
I
we are
started to
streaming.
see us here.
Excellent. Yeah, so
Yep.
we are good to go. I need to mute this tab. Excellent. Muting this tab. Okay, everything is good. Okay, so we are live. Welcome. Welcome, guys. Yeah, the reason we're doing this is that, AT, why don't you please explain why we're doing this discussion about the Talmud?
Well, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding regarding the Talmud, just in general, myself included. I'm not incredibly educated in it. A lot of people, there's a lot of information in the Talmud that can be misunderstood, misrepresented, and misapplied, either by people who are purposefully trying to misrepresent Judaism and what Judaism is and says, or by people who are mistaken, right? People who just don't understand the correct methodology of how to interpret certain texts. So, what I was thinking was kind of how there's like a math rule. Now, I'm really terrible at math, right? But if you have a big long math equation that includes parentheses, exponentials, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, right? If you misapply the proper way of, parentheses first, exponential second, third, fourth, fifth, you're not going to arrive to the correct conclusion, right? There's a
Hmm.
proper method to doing mathematics so that you're guaranteed to reach the appropriate outcome, right? The correct answer. The same thing is true when we read scripture. There's a methodology that we must use when we're reading the Bible, right? Is this book of the Bible written as poetry? Is it legalistic? Is it mythological in nature? Is it historical in nature? Are they parables, right? Is it Old Testament, New Testament, right? There's a certain methodology that one must use in order to come to proper conclusions based on what the text says. That's the same for the Quran. That's the same for the Sharia manuals. That's the same for pretty much anything in life. If you use incorrect methodology, you arrive at incorrect outcomes. And so, one of the things that I've been learning quite literally today, Lloyd, thank you for teaching me all this
You're
stuff,
welcome.
is the proper methodology on when you're reading the Talmud, how to read it, right? You can't just read a little excerpt, right? And expect that that is the actual ruling on the situation. So I'm going to let Lloyd kind of get into how we're supposed to do it, so that people don't accidentally start misrepresenting Judaism, right?
Yeah,
We
guys. Hey there. Yeah.
yeah we
So,
we obviously don't agree with the Jewish outcome, right? Because we follow Christ,
right.
but at the same time, we don't want to lie to try to take away someone's position. We want to be honest in
Yeah,
everything that we do. That's what we do as Christians.
right. So, guys, the reason I'm doing this is after last night's stream, I was on with Adam Seeker, which was a wonderful opportunity. It was really, yeah, it was a great opportunity to speak with someone in the community, and it was, wow, he knows a lot. Very impressive. So yeah, but as a consequence of that, there were comments made by certain people stating that um, stating that the Jews also allow infant sex. They allow sex with girls who are 3 years old. Hi, Chloe. Very welcome. Hi, David. Thank you for being here. So this is completely false. I know that this false understanding. Now look, we will do a detailed show. I will do a detailed. Hi, Yeshua. Thank you for coming by. I will do a detailed show from the beginning. Now I've already done. If you look for a channel called Logos Media 2, look for my name and Jews. Right. Some time back, I did 7 shows discussing Judaism versus Islam, and there are copious lies told about the Talmud. Enormous numbers of lies told about the Talmud. Now, one of the popular ones, of course, is that Jews allow prepubescent sex with 3-year-olds, and this is absolutely false, right? So now, but someone on Adam Seeker's channel has now been pushing this, and I've been refuting this, or at least trying to say no. And this is why I've just decided to do this off the cuff but let's just jump into this so me and AT, let us jump into this and let's have a look. You guys, you must be familiar with the fact that there are plenty of nasty things said about the Talmud. Now, look, I'm not here to say the Talmud is right. If we're going to criticize something, I'd like us to be rational. I'd like us to be reasonable. I'd like us to present a sound, truthful argument. And also, as Christians, we need to say, what was Jesus's criticism of the situation? Did he criticize all Jews? Did he call to hate the Jews? No. He criticized an ideology. He criticized a position by the Pharisees. He criticized the leadership. He didn't criticize all, right? And he himself was a Jew, right? Now,
Mhm.
certainly Jews don't worship Jesus because obviously they see that this was a separate new religion, and there was a lot of bad blood between Jews and Christians for a long time. By the same token, the Buddhists don't worship Jesus. Do we hate them? You know, so are we called to hate them? No. So understand, we don't hate Muslims either, right? But it seems to be okay amongst many Christians to hate Jews. So, but let's have a look. Let's start with where this problem started. So, hi, Dragon, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I'm very sorry to hear the news about your mother. So yeah, my condolences, and we're thinking of you. We're praying for you. So hang in there. Okay, I know what it's like. I went through that a few years ago. So you hang in there. Okay, so let me share my screen. So I'm just going to bring up the other screen. So um, this is Safaria.org, and we're going to look at Sanhedrin 59a. Now, do understand that Sanhedrin, so the Talmud is enormous and it is very difficult for people to understand. What is common is someone will take a very small snippet, like literally 5 words out of maybe 50 or 60 paragraphs, 20, 30 pages, and they will state this is a ruling. No, the Talmud does not work like the Sharia. The Sharia certainly plagiarized the Talmud. It certainly copied, but they didn't copy the law, the moral content. It copied the structure, right? And it inverted a lot of the rulings. So now, for instance, let's read this. This is where this started. So we'll start at the beginning. Rabbi Yohanan says, so you can see this is Sefaria.org, Sanhedrin 59a. Oh, good grief. Oh, now I just closed it. Why did I do that?
Because you wanted to make this a lot more interesting than it had to be. So as you're looking that up, like
Here it
what
is.
was
It's
the
back again.
claim? What was the claim that our brother was making? The
So the
mistaken
claim
claim?
is that a Gentile who reads the Torah must receive the death penalty by the
Mm,
Jews. So a Gentile, a non-Jew, Christians who read the Torah must be killed. This is the claim he made. So certainly, let's read it. Rabbi Yohanan says a Gentile who engages in Torah study is liable to receive the death penalty, as it is
right.
stated.
So
Yes?
and that's where we stop, right? This is where we start to apply incorrect methodology. That's why our brother who's making these mistaken claims, that's why he's making that claim, right? He heard somebody say it, he went and checked it, and he checked it to the first semicolon, right? He didn't even go past that. Um,
Yeah,
and that was all the confirmation that he needed, but he doesn't understand the methodology. And Lloyd, I know you're going to show how when we
yeah,
read things, we should read the whole thing. And this is how we should do correct methodology. So go ahead, man.
right. So, as it is stated, Moses commanded us a law, the Torah, an inheritance of the congregation of Jacob, taken from Deuteronomy 33:4, indicating that it is an inheritance for us and not for them. So that's Rabbi Yohanan, what he has just said. The very next paragraph says the Gemara challenges this statement. But if so, let the Tanna count as prohibition among the 7 Noahide laws. The Gemara explains, blah blah, and it goes on, goes on, goes on. So now they go on. According to the one who says that the verse is referring to the Torah as betrothed, as the spelling of the Hebrew word for betrothed is similar to the word for inheritance, the punishment of a Gentile who studies Torah is like that of anyone who engages in intercourse with a betrothed young woman, which is execution by stoning. Oh man, this just gets worse.
Right. So
Let's
it sounds again like what the guy is saying is correct, but he forgot to keep reading.
Right. Now, the Gemara raises an objection to Rabbi Yohanan's statement. From a Baraita, Rabbi Meir would say, from where is it derived that even a Gentile who engages in Torah study is considered like a high priest? It is derived from that which is stated, you shall keep my statutes and my ordinances, which if a man does, he shall live by them. Leviticus 18:5. So the phrase, which if priests, Levites, and Israelites do, they shall live by them, is not stated, but rather a man. So if you keep my statutes and ordinances, which if a man does, and he's saying not the Jews, not the priests, not the Levites, not the Israelites, but a man, which indicates mankind in general. You have therefore learned that even a Gentile who engages in Torah study is considered like a high priest. Does this sound like the death sentence, or does this sound like someone had offered an opinion and this was discussed, and here is the ruling, that if a Gentile studies the Torah, he is to be considered like a high priest?
Right. So that's literally, or not, I shouldn't say literally, that's basically the opposite, right? You should kill them to they are considered to be a high priest. And let's just be honest here for a second. Using a rational brain, right? Using a rational brain and using the Old Testament from what you're reading, right? How they constantly were grafting people into uh, the nation of Israel, right? As they celebrate Melchizedek, right, who was a Gentile, right, who they say Christ was like after, right, the order of Melchizedek. Why would a Gentile be put to death for doing something that the Talmud, or sorry, that the Torah says to do? So
Yes,
if I'm reading this and I'm using proper methodology, I'm going to go opinion, 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 right? Let's see what the actual ruling is. So when you
yeah,
go through it all, right, when you use proper methodology and you use your brain, you come up with the proper interpretation of it, which is to say it's good for a Gentile to study the Torah.
yes, yes. No,
End of
Sneakers
story.
Corner, welcome. Thank you for being here. So good to have you in the channel. And yes, guys, please support Chloe. She does fantastic work. Her work's very important. So please do support her channel. So do you see that now? There is a very strong difference between Talmud and Sharia. Certainly, the Sharia stole from the Talmud. It plagiarized. It took
Hmm.
structure, not necessarily content. Right. So they structured the Sharia like the Talmud. However, they inverted a lot of the moral rulings, the teachings. Right. They reject a lot of the Jewish law that, in fact, even as Christians, we have inherited those moral precepts. So
Correct.
understand the Talmud is a series of discussions. It is a series of speculations. It is a series of legal problems that are presented. And then students have to discuss. The rabbis debate. But also, in many cases, there is no ruling given. There is not even a conclusion. It just cuts off. In other cases, hey, thank you, Sneakers. No, really, really wonderful to see you. Thank you. Yeah, in other cases, they discuss a problem and then they'll suddenly randomly veer into a discussion on child rape. They'll suddenly start talking about the price of baskets and where you can sell them and how strong the baskets have to be to make the price legitimate. Then they'll talk about, is this man overloading his horse? Is the cart too heavy? How many, does he get fined for that? And then suddenly 50 paragraphs later, they'll come back to the discussion on whatever it was they were discussing, like rape, for argument's sake. Now understand, Sanhedrin is a chapter discussing the rules of court procedure, right? It is a ruling, it is a set of rulings on crime. So it is a book on crimes and even so far as the death penalty. For instance, Sanhedrin 76a, now the same person that we're discussing is telling me that Sanhedrin 76a allows child sex. In other words, that Jews allow sex with 3-year-olds. Now, we've discussed this before. I'm not going to go, this was off the cuff, so I'm going to go through a bunch of rulings today. But understand the Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not commit sexual immorality. If you
Hmm.
read it the way it's properly written in the old context, thou shalt not commit sexual immorality, which includes it is illegal because I will just bring this up. Actually, let me just bring this up. Sex and marriage in the Talmud. First want to show you this. This Jew haters, and unfortunately this includes Christians who hate Jews, will routinely tell you that the Talmud allows sex with little girls. It absolutely does not. And I will do a show on that in detail. I've done about 22 or 24 hours of shows on a different channel, but it says very bluntly, at least 4 times in the Talmud that I found, the seduction of a minor girl is considered rape. That is the ruling. The discussion, the discussion that a priest, now it is specific to a priest, may marry a girl who's 3 years and 1 day old. Well, unfortunately, yes, it does say that. But then when you read the rest of it, it says, if a girl in Jewish law, if a girl is 3 years old or younger and she has been molested, she is still considered pure. This does not affect her virginity, and it is required for a priest in Jewish law to marry a girl who is a virgin. She must be a virgin. So when she's 18 and she's legal to get married, he can marry her. If she's 3 years and 1 day old, she has passed into a different legal state. She's in a different age category. And
Hmm.
then molestation counts against her. And unfortunately, it's not her sin, but she's not considered pure according to the Jewish law. A priest may not marry a girl who was molested after the age of 3 years and 1 day. So it doesn't mean that he can marry a 3-year-old. It means that if she was molested, so unfortunately, the Talmud talks in shortcuts, and I can do, and I have done an entire show on this, but the ruling is the seduction of a minor girl is considered rape. Very clear.
Right.
So your thoughts, AT?
Well, and again, I'm going back to the methodology that our brother who unfortunately, hopefully his motives are not impure. I'm hoping the best for why he's saying what he's saying in that comment section there, and that he's just mistaken. He's just applying an improper methodology. Now, if he continues to do it after he's been corrected, then that's going to imply that his motivation is more malicious in nature as opposed to seeking for what the truth actually is of the situation. So it makes sense, right? Seducing a minor is always rape. Everybody understands that. That's logical. Okay. um
Right.
it, when it comes to priesthood, right, priests are it's a very strict ruling for the priests in Judaism what is considered to be clean and unclean. It doesn't necessarily mean sinful and righteous, it just means clean and unclean. You can be unclean and righteous at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So when they say that if the girl has been raped before 3 years and 1 day, then when that girl is ready, like you said, to be married, she is considered legal for a
A
priest.
priest.
Now, if she was raped at 3 years and 1 day or later, she becomes ceremonially unclean for the priest. The priest won't be able to marry her, but that doesn't mean she's off limits or banished or sinful or anything
Correct.
like that. She can marry anyone else
Yeah.
whom she chooses.
Besides, we're talking about Jewish law that expired more than 2,000 years ago.
Hmm.
This is not today's law. The Sharia is today's law, right? So, yeah. So, um, so moving on. So I want to bring you guys to my little chapter on lies about the Talmud. Now, I'm going to just pick through some of these, but there was a major source. Now, there are numerous sources, for instance, but I'll go through one by one, okay? So here's a quote by Wittgenstein or Stein. One thinks that one is tracing the outline of the thing's nature over and over again, and one is merely tracing around the frame through which we look at it, and that is bias. Now, in 1892, a book was written called The Talmud Unmasked, The Secret Rabbinical Teachings Concerning Christians by a defrocked Catholic priest called I.B. Pranaitis. This eventually went to court, and it turns out this guy was a pretty bad guy. Okay, he was not in a good way. But let's have a look at the book and see what was in this book. So, for instance, this chapter that we're linking to here in this book called The Talmud Unmasked, harm must be done to the work of Christians. Now, these are claims, and most of these are fabricated. They are literally just made up. The balance are paraphrases of existing passages, but they've literally just lifted a couple of words entirely out of context or literally paraphrased and rewritten some of these. So harm must be done to the work of Christians. Christians must not be told if they pay too much to a Jew. The property of Christians must not be returned to them. Understand? We're going to have a look at this. What? Okay, so understand, Christians may be defrauded. Now, these are all true in Islam. Actually, this is not true within Judaism. Okay, so let's continue. So let's have a look at what I'm covering here today. So now I'm going to skip forward. So I'm going to skip forward because I'm not planning to do an entire show on this. I just want to go through a handful of things, right? So we've seen this now, that a Gentile engages in Torah is considered like a high priest. And I'm just going to jump through. So there are many, many common claims made. And let's jump through. Let's start here. If a Jew finds an object lost by a goy, it does not have to be returned. Baba Metzia 24a. Right, now let's have a look. This is the claim. Thank you, Sneakers. Yeah, I spent 3 months reading the Talmud for a series of shows that I did online with another channel. It was a lot of reading. I said it was a huge amount of reading, and resolution is difficult to see. Okay, I'm going to try and zoom in a bit more. This is, hopefully that's a little bit better. Let me see if I can zoom in a fraction more here for you. Oops. Does that help? Okay, so this is a claim that is commonly iterated on. So, in the case of one who finds a lost item in a main thoroughfare or a large plaza or in any place where the multitudes are found, these items belong to the one who found them due to the fact that the owner despairs of their recovery. Notice the phrasing is entirely different from what is claimed, which is commonly claimed on the internet. Okay, so a dilemma, a question was raised before the sages. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar said, if one finds a lost item in any place where multitudes are found, the item belongs to him who found it. Did he refer only to a place where there's a majority of Gentiles, but in a place where there's a majority of Jews? Does the owner not despair of recovering the item because he relies on the Jews to return his item? Or perhaps, even in a place where there is a majority of Jews, he also says that the item belongs to the one who found it. So the Talmud has a series of legal questions that are postulated. Students have to then reply, or the rabbis pose a question and then they test the law. Is the law thorough enough to deal with these circumstances? And if you say that even in a place where there is a majority of Jews, he also said that the item belongs to the one who found it. Do the rabbis disagree or do they not disagree? So, in the case of one who finds coins in synagogues and study halls or in any place where multitudes are found, these coins belong to him due to the fact that the owner despairs of their recovery. If there is no chance of finding the owner and the place is crowded, whatever you find, it is yours. And will continue. It also states that even in a place where there's a multitude of Jews or places where only Jews will gather, if a Jew finds that, keep it because there's no chance of finding the owner. There is no indication of theft, and we will get to a discussion on theft. AT, your thoughts?
Sorry, I was in the chat here. What I was thinking about this, again, is it's proper methodology, and I'm just gonna keep repeating that for the most part. Is you're teaching us how to read this, how to look into it, and how to come to proper conclusions, and that's
Right.
all. That's all that this is.
So, conclude that Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar holds that a lost item belongs to the finder, even in a place where there is a majority of Jews, as synagogues and study halls are places frequented exclusively by Jews. So the
hmm
Jews are saying, if you find something if you find a $10 bill in Times Square, you don't know whose this is. There's no way to get it back to the owner. Keep it. So even in a place where the majority of people are Jews, it's yours, even if you're a Jew. There is no slight towards non-Jews here. Right?
hmm
There is no slight towards non-Jews. So people have deliberately misquoted what is going on. And this is a short extract of a very long passage. These conversations go on for 50, 60, 100, 200 paragraphs. I'm
Yeah,
only
and a
quoting
lot
a
of
little
it.
bit of it. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, and a lot of it is kind of like the rabbis are almost playing devil's advocate,
Okay.
right? They're gonna
Yes.
make a statement that you're gonna if a good student hears the statement, they're gonna go, "There's something not right about this. Let me find a way to overcome this and use the Torah as a way to say no, that's actually not true."
Right.
Am I understanding that right? Do they kind of use that kind of
It's called
methodology?
the name they give it a name. I can't remember the Jewish name right now, but it's called peppering.
Peppering.
They have
Okay.
so it's a method for attacking a point from every angle to see if they can find a weakness in it. These were jurists, these were lawyers. They had to test the law, so they had a
Mm.
specific process for doing this.
Yeah.
So now another scholar speaks up and says, "I reject the proof." Now someone else gives an opinion. These are opinions. These are not rulings. Not always, rarely do they actually have a ruling. Usually it's just a discussion, like, let's argue about this. Because there's a famous proverb, okay? When you have two Jews, you have three opinions. Okay, so we are dealing with a case where the coins are scattered and there is no distinguishing mark on them, so you cannot find the owner. And again, they state, even in a place where the multitudes are found, the coins belong to the finder. There's nothing about steal from the Gentiles. Let's continue
hmm
to the end. And the Gemara goes on and they discuss. You see, so constantly the Gemara rejects this proof. Someone says something, someone says, nobody, you're wrong, hang 10, let's talk about it some more. And then the Gemara rejects the next explanation. And then the guy says, rather, the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. So some guy just disagreed with him and some dude says, no, 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 no. And he stated his opinion that even in a place where there is a majority of Jews, okay, and then they talk about an item that is concealed, that was hidden. And then they talk about things that are left in the open. And then they talk about every possible permutation of the problem. And it'll put you, if you have problems sleeping at night, read the Talmud. It's going to be fantastic. So now it says here,
Where do we
nevertheless,
read about Solomon talking to ants? Is that the
okay,
Mishnah?
it belongs to the finder because the owner despaired of recovering a barrel misplaced in a public area. So even with regard to a place where there is a majority of Jews, now I want to end off this particular section. The Mishnah teaches, if a Jew has stolen something, so with regard, and this refers to Jews now, with regard to one who left a stolen item to his children, if there was something that may serve as a legal guarantee of a loan, the heirs are obligated to pay the owner back. It refers even to a cow that the family plows with, or a donkey that they drive, which the heirs are obligated to return. And in Bava Kama, again, it goes on, from the fact that the heirs must return a cow and a donkey, one can infer that they must also return a bed and a table. So they're telling the Jews, if you have taken something and you know who the owner is, give it back.
Right.
Does that make my point, AT? What are your thoughts?
It does. I mean, it's super clear. It's super clear when you apply proper methodology. Read the whole thing. Don't stop at a semicolon. Don't read just one person's opinion. Read everyone's opinion on the subject. And eventually you're going to get to a conclusive statement and a ruling. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
So let's continue. So it is a sanctification of God's name so that they will glorify Israel and know that they are the people of faith. It is praiseworthy to do so, to return it. It is forbidden. Okay? It is a desecration, keeping lost property. Wow, thank you very much, Trey Ronnie. Thank you. Wow, you just subscribed. Appreciate it. So, keeping lost property would be a desecration of God's name. It is forbidden to keep lost property, and you are obligated to return it if you know who the owner is. Can this be clearer than this, AT?
No, I mean, honestly not. It's don't steal. And if you do, you have to pay it back. Or even when you die, your
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 children.
descendants have to pay it back.
Yeah.
So in no way, shape, or form would I ever read some ruling that says it's okay to steal and think that that's what it actually means.
Understand.
And in
So,
fact, like this is a way that I teach a lot of kids. So I teach a Sunday school class, and I'll ask them questions. I'll say, I'm trying to think of a thing like you kind of like this, like, hey, if I steal this from this person because I wanted it, is that the right thing to do?
right
Right?
now, we can read through this. Sorry, you guys are saying there's a similarity between the Talmud. Yes, obviously the Sharia stole from the Talmud, the structure.
Mhm.
But within the Sharia, we can go everything that is accused, everything the Jews are accused of, you will find in the Talmud. You will find in the Sharia. I promise you
Mhm.
that. Every accusation levied against the Jews, lying, stealing, all that, you'll look in the Sharia, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
But it's not part of the Talmud.
And it's a different kind of methodology, right? So
Yes,
the Talmud, you can't read the Talmud the same way you read the Sharia.
correct.
So when you read the Talmud, you see these differing opinions. And at the end of all these opinions, then you're going to see the actual ruling. When it comes to the Sharia, you don't see the discussion. You just see the ruling, right? So it's just ruling,
Yes,
ruling, 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 ruling. So in a lot of ways, the Sharia is a much easier to
read,
understand and much
much easier,
easier to parse
much
through.
easier. The Sharia
Very
is explicit.
straightforward.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas the Talmud, you just can't apply the same methodology
Yeah.
to reading the Talmud as you do to the Sharia. So I would just caution anyone if they think that you're supposed to read it in the same way, it's just not
No,
quite
they're not the
quite
same.
true. Yep.
So notice the Talmud then refers to Deuteronomy 22:1. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt bring them again unto thy brother. Understand? So, because in the Talmud, according to the law of Moses 538, lost and found, there's an obligation to return a lost object. This is in the law of Moses. This is the oral law. You shall surely return them, Deuteronomy 22:1. And Hashavas Avada is the mitzvah, the ruling, the law, to return a lost object. It is common for people to lose things. It is therefore a benefit to society to encourage people to get as many lost objects back into the owner's hands as possible. Now, this individual, unfortunately, is now on Adam Seeker's channel, who's now made these statements and has forced me now to start speaking about this. I'm going to have to go through all of these claims in the future, and it's going to be embarrassing. Okay, but I
Well,
need
and
to defend
hopefully
the
he
truth.
just learns. I hope he watches this. I hope he learns, um, so that he can apply proper methodology. All he needs to do is review what he's come up with. He just needs to reapply. He needs to redo his math equation. And if he still comes to a different conclusion than you, then you guys have an actual discussion. But I think for the most part, if he applies proper
Yeah,
methodology and he approaches it from a position of
right,
humility and not trying to be prideful or arrogant about it,
right,
which, by the way, if you're humble, people respect you way more than if you try to pretend you didn't make a mistake. So I just want to put
right.
that out there.
Now
Um,
notice Law of Moses 476 and 480. Okay, so not to covet and scheme to acquire another's possessions. Exodus 20:15, Exodus 20:14. Do not desire another's possessions. Deuteronomy 5:19 and Deuteronomy 5:18. Return the robbed object or its value. Leviticus 5:23. Do not ignore a lost object and return the lost object. Deuteronomy 22:1. Psalm 15. Okay, it is prohibited to oppress, rob, or steal even from a non-Jew. Understand? So this you go on. I mean, so let's have a look at some other rulings. So I want to let's put that one behind us now. Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. That's in Baba Kama 113a. I'm going to play this short clip involving superstar and crazy human Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin is bat poop crazy. Okay, man, you got to watch some of this guy's stuff. Let me just play this for a second. You guys aren't hearing this, right? It's not coming through. Good grief. The audio. Give me 1 second. Great. Why is it doing this to me? Default.
do you want to do a session of like bad lip
Invent a
syncing where we just
There it
say
is.
what
It's
you're
coming through
saying?
now. I've just fixed it. So guys, let's play this.
What have they're not people are like, oh no, oh, and if you think that they have to tell the truth, you have to understand that in the Talmud, the Jews say, let me quote it, Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. That's in Baba Kama 113a.
You just heard Owen Benjamin say, if you think that I have to tell the truth, you have to understand that in the Talmud they say, let me quote it. Let me quote it, he says, right? He says, Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. That's in Bava Kama 113a. He quoted nothing. He quoted a guy who lied to him on the internet. Okay? Let's go to Bava Kama. Let's have a look and see how misinformed, dishonest, and unfortunately, he's just lied to hundreds of thousands of people and taught them falsehood. The Gemara, Rabbi blah blah says the Mishnah is discussing a customs collector who does not have a limitation placed by the governor on the amount he may collect. So this tax collector has not been given orders to state, look, you have to tax people only to so much, and he collects as he pleases. In other words, this is a dishonest government person who is robbing people and sticking the money in his pocket. Alternatively, the sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai said the Mishnah is discussing a customs collector who stands on his own. He was not appointed by the government, but he forces people to give him money. I don't recall Owen Benjamin mentioning that. Do you, AT?
No, no, he just wanted to put his own spin on it, right?
Right. So, in other words, the tax collector is now going to the Jews and he's robbing them. He's stealing from them with force and coercion. And the Jews are saying, I don't have any money. Sorry, buddy. Now, if you were being robbed by someone who is lying to you and robbing you, what are you going to do? You're going to say, yeah, buddy, take my house, take everything. No, you will not. Understand? The specific instances you are being robbed, what do you do? Do you allow this man to rob you blind? Did you say, sorry, I don't have money? Okay, there was a question that just came in. So, Lloyd, why would Muhammad want the same law when he tried to keep? He wanted legitimacy. He wanted to be recognized as a true prophet of Israel. He wanted to
Hmm.
be recognized as the last prophet. He wanted to be recognized as the brother of Jesus, right? He wanted the respect of the Jews, and unfortunately, He did not. So therefore, he ultimately then turned on the Jews. He turned on the Christians because they would not recognize him. He wanted the same authority in many ways. He stole. That's why they plagiarized the Talmud. They copied the structure, but they didn't copy the spirit of the Talmud, the spirit of the New Testament and the Old Testament. Look, I'm not defending the Talmud. There are certainly problems with it. You read it and you go like, you'll scratch your head a lot. I promise you that. You'll, but if we're going to criticize it, let us be honest. Let us be rational and truthful about it. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, now, even this, despite that ruling we've just seen, now there's a discussion that happens. There are those who teach the statements of Rabbi Hanina and says one may vow before murderers, plunderers, and customs collectors in order to reinforce the claim that a certain item that is being commandeered is teruma, a gift, in other words, or that it belongs to the king's house. So in other words, if something was given to you as a gift, it was not taxable. All right, that's what they mean by teruma. Okay, and thereby you can avoid its seizure, despite the fact that it is not teruma, that is not a gift, or that it does not belong to the king's house. So now they're saying, can we lie about this? And someone's saying, no, maybe you can't lie about it. So it was asked, can it be that it's permitted to pronounce such a vow before customs collected? And then someone says, but doesn't Rabbi Shmuel say, the law of the kingdom is the law? It should therefore be prohibited to state such a vow before tax collectors. So therefore, follow the law even if you are being robbed by someone who's being dishonest, because it's the law of the land, and obey the law of the land regardless of the consequences. Should I
Right,
pause there
and
for a moment?
Jesus talks a lot about that, right? He talks a lot about the tax collectors, right? He associates them with tax collectors, sinners, all those kinds of things, but he doesn't say Jewish people don't follow the law even if you're being robbed, right? There's still he still says to follow the law. And
The
I'm
law,
not saying that Jesus followed the Talmud or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is there's certain principles that apply to this that he uses
right?
that you know this there's a million reasons not to become Jewish in the sense of following the
Yeah,
religion, but we have to do this from an honest perspective.
perspective. Now let's continue. Let's actually get to the final ruling in Bava Kama 113a, paragraph 21. Rabbi Ashi says the Mishnah issues its ruling. It actually issues a ruling. Good grief, we actually have a ruling with regard to a Gentile customs collector whom one may deceive. Oh boy, that sounds bad, as it is taught in the Baraita. In the case of a Jew and a Gentile who approach the court for judgment in a legal dispute, if you can vindicate the Jew under Jewish law, vindicate him and say to the Gentile, this is our law. If the Jew can be vindicated under Gentile law, vindicate the Jew and say to the Gentile, this is your law. And if it is not possible to vindicate the Jew under either system of law, approach the case circuitously, seeking a justification to vindicate the Jew. This is the statement of Rabbi Yishmael. And then the senior rabbi gives his final ruling. Rabbi Akiva disagrees and says, one does not approach the case circuitously in order to vindicate the Jew due to the sanctification of God's name, as God's name will be desecrated if the Jewish judge employs dishonest means. Is that clear?
Yeah, crystal.
Conan, laughing my ass off. Imagine defending the Jew. He says, Conan, imagine lying like a lying liar that you are, because I am simply presenting the truth with the links, with the facts. You, first of all, are a coward. You are a liar. You are too frightened and too scared to face me even to discuss your pech. Your pedo prophet made sunnah, and this sunnah is now in your sharia, your pech. It is your law. You support pedophilia, buddy, and you are too afraid to let me read this to you and discuss it with me because you are a coward. Allah thinks that you are worth 1/3 of a woman, okay? He told me that he deliberately gave you panties one size too small because you're such a coward.
I
So,
tend to agree with Lloyd. I
yeah, I
do
tend to
actually.
agree with myself a lot too. So, yeah. Now, so people like him will lie about the Jews, and unfortunately, many quote-unquote Christians will lie about the Jew. Yeah. Sinclair's Law, what is that? Okay, welcome, thank you. So guys, so understand, is this clear? You do not, the Jews are saying, follow the law, even if it is prejudiced against you, and you do not lie in court. Do you understand? This is the final ruling. So understand, Lloyd is no leg. Alonzo, You are off topic. Now you will remain on topic. You agreed to meet with me. You agreed to meet with ASK to discuss the Sharia. You ran away. You haven't been back. You are a coward as well. You are
Both
also worth 1/3 of a woman. In fact, you're probably worth 1/3 of a puppy because that's what you are. Okay. The Bible teaches minor marriages. No, it does not. But the Sharia law, you've seen those laws that we've presented. It explicitly, your law explicitly allows pedo because you had a pedo prophet. Let's be blunt about that. Okay. Prove me wrong. Quote your fiqh. But you know what? First of all, you are ignorant of the fiqh. I know much more about it than you do. I am far more educated about you than of your own deen. Two, you are too weak to face me. You know I'm right. Otherwise, pull out your fiqh. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, buddy. Show me the quotes. Put the links here. Give us the names of the books and the scholars. Make sure those are authoritative fiqh texts. Okay? Because you're a coward. You will not face me. And next, you know what? It's actually illegal for you to show me this stuff. You know this. I know this. You have no authority. You have no knowledge. You're just a dumb little mukallid. Okay? So, in the womb of a... First of all, I'm about to ban you just because, in fact, I'm going to time you out because even your Quran teaches that Mary was 12. No, in fact, it doesn't give an age, does it? It doesn't. There's no age given. But why is the very same story in the Quran? Why is it okay in the Quran but not okay for the very same story to be told in the Bible? And next, if Jesus wasn't born from a human male, from a man, right? If Jesus was given a virgin birth, who was his father? Let us know, okay? So anyway, moving on. Thank you, IT. Your turn.
Are you talking to me? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
Oh no, it's
Sorry.
good, man. So just one thing I was gonna say to both Alonzo and to Mongol or whatever the heck his name is, Conan the Barbarian. Um, uh, you and I have both of you guys have had conversations with myself, with Lloyd. We've offered you the opportunity and the chance to present your case to us live on YouTube so that you can embarrass us Kafirs and you can prove the superiority of your Sharia, the superiority of your Muslim mind, and the superiority of your deen, because as your Quran says, we are basically pigs and monkeys, and we are the worst of creatures. So I don't know why you would not want to exploit us, publicly humiliate us, and lift up your particular deen. So I have given both of you, Alonzo and Conan, my Skype address. If you want to team up and have a debate against myself only, I don't care. If Lloyd wants to join us, I don't care. But until then, admins, and this is your channel, Lloyd, but I will
Yeah.
give my suggestion. Admins, if they have not yet given me they've not reached out via Skype, then just keep them off the channel because they're
Yeah.
clearly just here as trolls and they have no
Yeah.
actual backbone whatsoever, even
Yeah.
though they apparently came from the sperm of a backbone. But whatever, doesn't matter.
Whatever. So let's do one or two more. So Avodah Zarah 22:8. Christians have intercourse with animals. Very common claim about the Talmud. One may not keep an animal in the inns of Gentiles because they are suspected of bestiality. Okay? And of course, they state here, even Gentiles are prohibited from engaging in bestiality. Interesting. Right after that, the very next line, even Gentiles are prohibited from engaging in bestiality. A Jew who places his animal there is guilty of violating the prohibition. You shall not put a stumbling block before the blind. In other words, don't tempt them, buddy. Don't put your sheep there because they're going to be tempted. Leviticus 19:4. However, let's continue. With regard to the assumption that Gentiles are suspected of bestiality, the Gemara raises a contradiction. One may purchase an animal from Gentiles for use as an offering, and there is no concern that it might be unfit due to it being an animal that copulated with a person, or due to being an animal that was the object of bestiality, or due to it having been set aside for idol worship. A Gentile protects and thereby spares his own animal so that it will not become barren. Since an act of bestiality may cause an animal to become barren, there is no concern that the Gentile engaged in immoral behavior with it. This again, the Talmud refutes itself. Questions are posed, and then the ruling is given.
Mhm.
So, does this make it clear? Am I wrong here? Am I biased? Am I misrepresenting?
No, there's absolutely no misrepresentation. So what an honest person would do and what an honest person would say if they're bringing this up, they would say that the Mishnah of whatever person was that you read at first, the Mishnah of this particular rabbi says blank, 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 and that's disgusting, right? And that's an honest thing to say. But then you need to also say, but however, that's in a minority position. This greater rabbi or sage or whoever, they came along and they made this an actual ruling and not just an opinion. So it goes back to methodology, and that's how we have to apply anything to anything. So
Right.
there you go.
Yeah. So guys, I mean, I'll just go back here. So I just want to do a few of these to discuss this issue. Hi, Marek. Welcome. You're a bit late. So understand, there is no we look, I will do a show. I'll do an entire show, detailed, very detailed show, discussing the Talmudic rulings on children, on adults, and the different. They've got about 7 different age brackets that you're placed in, from 0 to 3 years old, 3 years and 1 day, up to 7, I think, and then 7 to 9, and then 9 to 12, 12 to 16, 16 to 18, 18 to 22, something like that. They've got these, and
Brackets.
they've got these age brackets, and then they've got very distinct legal distinctions between what is a proposal, what is a betrothal, what is a marriage, what is consummation. There's all these steps, and these words have very legally defined meanings. So marriage doesn't mean consummation, right? Proposal doesn't mean marriage, okay? Betrothal doesn't mean marriage. So for instance, give you one simple example. A girl could be betrothed at the age of 3. That simply means that her father has promised that she will marry someone else when she's of age. Okay, that is not a marriage. That is simply an offer of marriage. Okay, but there's a lot of complex rules around this, and the way that women are treated in Judaism and within the Jewish law is very different to the Sharia. Women are treated with huge respect, great respect. Okay, and you will see that. I will cover this, and I hope that our friend on the other channel will actually come on and actually have a look, learn something, rather than spread the lies that others have told him and be deceived by lies. But understand. So I just wanted to show you a few examples, and there's so much to unpack here. Any questions from anyone? Okay.
Yeah, I think you answered what's her face's one. I don't think I've seen any other major questions. So yeah, if anybody does have a question, let us know. Otherwise, we'll keep it fairly brief. Although it's been about an hour. I can't believe we talked for almost an hour, buddy.
True. We've got on at 10 past though. We got on at 10 past. So.
Yeah. So what do you have going on this week? I think I was watching your stream with Adam. You guys are going to do kind of a follow up on Tuesday.
Yeah, we're supposed to continue with the talk because I need to present more of the material on the on some of the Jewish aspects, like the correlations, the similarities between what's in the Talmud and what's in the especially the terminology that was stolen, like the Hajj is taken from the Jewish term Hajj, and a whole bunch of other things.
Right.
Even, there's a whole bunch of things that have just been stolen. The halakha, right? You have the Jewish halacha, right? The law. And the halakha in Islam is the place where you go to learn the law. It's the same words, the same ideas. You see, Conan, you're back again being stupid. They married a 3-year-old girl. No. No.
Yeah, and you have given me 0
Conan,
email messages, so just go in and ban them, guys.
No, just put him in timeout for the time being. I've stuck him in timeout, So, yeah, just put him in timeout. So, look, as you know, you're cowards and liars. You are all too afraid to meet with me, even to meet with us, to discuss your law. Now, I know you cannot discuss your law. It's not legal for you to do so. You'd be revealing secrets. You'd be a traitor to your Islamic nation, to your ummah. That's in the Sharia law. However, so that leaves us with a small problem, doesn't it? That leaves us. So if you are unable, if you are too weak, if you are too ignorant, please bring me someone who's an actual scholar. Go get your imam, okay? And if you need to go cry on their shoulder, maybe then bring your imama, whatever, assuming that they wear panties too. And in fact, bring someone who wears big gold panties, Conan. Big gold panties. Find someone in your group that does that. And see if they're willing to talk to me. Anyway, so yeah, Tuesday I will be online. Sorry guys, I'm really upset about some of this stuff because this is really, this kind of lies, these are not good. That they create hatred against people that is just unjustified.
No, I
show the part I've done that before. So they're not allowed to reveal. So it's within the reliance of the traveler. There's a section, I think it's R3, R7. They're not allowed to reveal any books that contain Islamic material to us unless we are willing to convert, unless it's for the purpose of actual conversion. And two, they're not allowed to reveal the secrets of the Muslims. There's a third prohibition that's also given. I can't remember what it is right now, but
Hmm.
they're not allowed to reveal the secrets. So, or the weaknesses. Search for the word weaknesses in the reliance. You'll find that reference. I've covered it before, and I need to discuss it maybe again in the future. But they are of the too lower level. They are of too lower level. This is reserved for
Hmm.
their ulama. They're not allowed to.
Right. And actually I'm pretty sure your live stream yesterday on with Adam, you
Mm.
guys went into all that. You did a really good job at kind of breaking stuff down. Now, it's a long, if you guys haven't seen it, it was like 2 hours and something minutes long
Yeah,
chat, but it was phenomenal, packed full of great information, which is about, I would say, 1/22nd of all the information that Lloyd knows about the Sharia laws. But it's a really good introductory course to kind of understanding why the Sharia is important, understanding why Muslims don't talk about it, whether it's because they're prohibited from doing it or because these particular Muslims have not reached a level worthy enough for them to actually have access to learning these types of stuff. But luckily, due to the internet, and we live obviously in the information age, we Kafirs have access to English translations of their stuff, so we can read it. You can also read it yourself, and that's what Lloyd has painstakingly done. Like, you saw the work that he did with the Talmud. That was like a weekend hobby for him. What he's done with the Sharia has been a lifetime hobby of his.
yeah.
And so
So
if you saw that, if you thought that was impressive information, you have no idea.
yeah, this falls into a section P74.0, and there's a section called R7 or R3. I'm not sure which exactly. But spying on the Muslims and revealing their weaknesses. What we are doing by reading the Sharia is spying on the Muslims and revealing their weaknesses, but this also means their secrets. Understand? But notice that also not loving the Prophet more than all people is a type of envy. We are guilty of Muhammad. Sorry, we're envious. Sorry, my bad. We are envious. But notice
I
Muslims are
don't want to
required.
be guilty of Muhammad.
Sorry, we
Never
are
do I want to
envious.
be guilty
Sorry,
of.
yeah, my bad. My apologies. But also not loving the Prophet more than all people. See, we are guilty of this. Sorry, we are guilty of not loving Muhammad. We are envious of him. And
Mhm.
Muslims are required to love Muhammad more than all people, more than your mother, your father, your children, your wife. You are required to.
But it
Understand?
doesn't say anything about loving Allah more than all people. Are
Isn't
you
that
supposed to?
fascinating?
That is
Isn't that
fascinating.
fascinating? Thou shalt
Hmm.
love the Lord your Muhammad with all thy heart and all thy strength. Spying on the Muslims and revealing their weaknesses. So P74.1.
Mhm.
So if someone's spying entails undermining Islam and its people, and we are undermining Islam and its people, then he's one
Mhm.
of those who strive for corruption in the land, and he is subject to death. So also now remember there was a line above there called acquiescing to disobedience. In other words, they will be assisting in disobedience. They will be giving us the material to be disobedient towards Muhammad, disobedient towards Allah, and to undermine Islam and its people. So therefore, this is treason under the Sharia.
Mm. You know what I was thinking as we were kind of doing a comparison between the Talmud and
Yeah.
the Sharia, right? So it's like the Muslims were reading through the Talmud. They're hearing these kind of rhetorical types of questions asked, right? Almost like the devil's advocate thing, and they don't align with what a lot of times the Talmud says. Where the Talmud says like don't steal or all that kind of stuff. They go with the worst one. They go, no, we like that one. That's the one that we're going to put into our Sharia. So it's almost
Yeah.
as if you read the Talmud and you pick like the by far and away the worst possible answer. That's the one that ends up in the Sharia.
Yeah, exactly. So there's another ruling. I can try and find it. Blah blah blah. It's one thing I hate about man. These books are so big, and then the search function just takes you like a billion years to go through stuff. I've started making an index of the actual page and reference where everything is to help me along here because 29, 31, 33, Talakat. And I'm gonna show you one of the others. There's a third one, and I always forget the third one. Good grief. Anyway, there's a ruling that states that they may not share any Islamic material with us. It is not
Hmm.
legal for them to do so. so that we do not learn. And the only thing that they may share is what will allow them to proselytize to us and bring us to conversion. Otherwise, no. But also, they are too junior to do actually know anything and do anything.
Hmm.
So yeah, guys, I think probably we can wrap it up here. Are there any more questions? Yeah. So for instance, stealing stuff will get your hands or all limbs or potentially death. Yes, those are the punishments in the Sharia. Okay, the hard punishments. However, or hudad, plural. These things are discussed in the Talmud. Things of that nature are discussed. They're never actually acted upon. These, for instance, Israel has no death penalty. They do not have capital punishment. In the last 50 years, the last 80 years, 75 years since they've been around, only two people have been given capital punishment. One of those was Eichmann, who was the Nazi officer, the senior Nazi officer, was captured in Argentina. They made an exception for him, right? So understand, so there is no death penalty. If the Jews are just looking to chop everybody's heads off, they're kind of just not getting around to it very well within their law. But Saudi Arabia beheads at least 200 people a year.
Yeah, it's and there's a classic projection that I
Yeah.
found that a lot of that the way their minds work, it's a psychologist. I don't know if it would be a psychologist's dream or a nightmare because there's so many things to diagnose with how the logic and reasoning goes with a lot of Muslims, and
Yeah, here's
and
the
they're
ruling.
constantly projecting their own shortcomings. They don't admit it themselves. They just go, you did this, right? And it's a very
Yeah,
interesting thing. Like I've got one Muslim, proclaiming that he destroyed us, right? When he was so destroyed, he got so embarrassed, he deleted his entire thread.
yeah.
But yet,
Multiple threads, multiple comments.
right? But yet he thinks in his mind, he just projects that. He goes, "Wow, I was made such a fool." But instead of saying I was a fool, he just says you were a fool
Yeah.
instead of
So
admitting.
here's
Yeah,
the
go
other
ahead.
ruling. I can't remember. I always forget the third ruling. But if a Quran is purchased for someone, it is obligatory that the person be Muslim. The same is true of books of Hadith and books containing the words and deeds of the early Muslims. Quran means any work that contains some of the Quran, even a slight amount. This ruling
Hmm.
holds for any religious books, even. And the Tabaqat of Sharani is a series of biographies of Muslim scholars and the companions of early scholars
Hmm.
of early scholars of Islam and early companions of Islam. So this is just a biography, and it's illegal. Yahweh, Ask Truth. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so guys, I hope that was useful. I hope that you've learned something about the Talmud. I will prepare and I will research, just to refresh my memory. I will talk about the Talmud. I will discuss this, and hopefully, the guy that is on Adam Seeker's channel, hopefully, he will actually listen with an open mind, right? And unfortunately, he is wrong. He is unfortunately disseminating lies that have caused a lot of hatred and that have caused a lot of death.
Hmm.
And um, we all have criticisms of. We should have criticisms of the Talmud or maybe of the Pharisees, but we are not called to hate Jews. And unfortunately, I don't see the concern here. Now we
Hmm.
can get upset with people. I get upset with lies. I get upset with liars. But again, we don't hate Muslims. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I do dislike stupid people. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But you're right. It's the ideology is the thing that we can hate. We hate the ideology of what the Sharia just says right here, right? Like we
Yeah.
hate that ideology. We hate the ideology of calling a man who married a 6-year-old and had sex with a 9-year-old, calling him the best of mankind. I hate that idea. That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my whole life. Or following a man who limited his followers to 4 wives, and yet he himself had 9 to 11 to 13, depending
Well,
on
over
the
his
source.
career, he had 22 wives, at least.
Right. So that's what I don't
He had
like.
11 at one time, but he had
That's what
22
that's
wives in
what
his career. Yeah.
and what bothers me is that people buy into this nonsense, right? People buy into the nonsense of, oh, the best of mankind. Why is he the best of mankind? Well, because my mom and dad told me that when I was 0 years old, and everybody has demonized everybody else, blah blah. It's just brainwashing. That's all it is. This will be another interesting talk, but I'm not going to start droning on back and forth. That'll be something we'll get into later. Um, But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just something that we all need to take into consideration. Make sure that we self-reflect, understand our own confirmation biases, and reconfirm that we're applying proper methodology to anything that we do.
Yeah, yeah. Michiel van der Vlies says that Muhammad may have had 66 wives according to Zakaria Butros. Yeah, I've heard that as well. So, guys, that's it from me for tonight. This was, I think, thank you, AT, for joining us. This was, I
Yeah,
think,
thanks
hopefully
for
was
having me.
enlightening and interesting to everyone.
Hmm.
Appreciate the input. So, guys, please be very careful when you start to listen to things about the Talmud. Me and my friend at one time, we researched over 100, okay, or at least approximately 100 of these claims, researched them in depth. Only one was legitimate. And this one wasn't even anything that was particularly, I think, bad. But all of these things were misrepresented or just outright total fabrications.
Hmm.
Okay. And yeah, so hopefully you've seen that this is not the case, right? So hopefully that's educated you. And guys, so I will see you on Tuesday. I'll be on Adam Seeker's channel. And yeah, and then AT and I will be on next Sunday. We'll prepare something, and I might do something prior to that because I'm really thinking I need to maybe do some discussions on other topics that I want to get to. So yeah, guys, I think that's it. If there's no other any questions, hey, thank you, Yeshua Yahweh, much appreciated. Hope that was yeah, thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, the Islamic world is highly inbred. That is true. But guys, let us call it. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Much appreciated. And we shall see you next time. Have a wonderful week, guys. Stay safe. Keep well. See you all soon. Thank you and bye.
See you guys.
God bless.